Okay, let's see if I can get this on video here. This is a good example of a pioneer species, the juniper in this case, um, getting to the point to where it's not in its natural cycle at this point. Um, Again, the juniper as a pioneer will come out and grow in places where almost nothing else will. You'll see the same for the chaparral or buckbrush or some of these other, and you can see, and then eventually it'll build up enough shade, enough organic matter, so you can grow an oak. And the oak is going to be the long-term species in what would be an oak savanna here. Now, with or without human management over the past thousands of years, in this case there was some, but even being on these where we are, the lightning storms that we have in July and August when everything is crispy, again, those will start those fires. But again, you can only carry a fire when you have enough fuel. And some of these barren places that these junipers start growing out of a crack in a rock, you really need the juniper to do its job in order for it to carry a fire, which can take time. But you can see the branches on the juniper are just right against the ground. And also, when they die, they don't break off. They'll stay right there as perfect kindling. Also, all of their leaves are full of something akin to kerosene. I mean, the flammable oils that they have are intense. And you couple that with the fact that when they burn, they don't grow back from their stump. Meaning they pass the torch, they've done their job. And every 10 years, whatever's grown, 10 to 20 years, that fire will come through, given that it's prepared the ground long enough, and it will burn those junipers up like torches. And sometimes they'll actually kill the oak tree that it prepared, or what seems to be killed the oak tree. But the root system is very much alive, and the oak tree will shoot up from its roots. And it'll use all of that massive root system to go into a few small, relatively small branches and grow much quicker than it had previously. So when you put all that together, it's obvious that naturally the oak tree is meant to stay and survive these fires, and the juniper will turn into food and help with water penetration and everything else when it dies, all of its root system underneath, like helping mycelium and whatnot. And also, if you look at the branches from the oak tree, they die and then they fall to the ground, again helping with mycelium. And the amount of leaf litter that the oak can provide is vastly more than anything a juniper could do. But it couldn't do it without the juniper creating it. But you're gonna get this mycelium, leaf mold, and you can see these moist, alive, rich soils, and this mulch layer that's gonna help with evaporation, also feeding, also micro life, and then bringing in other life around it to contribute with the biodiversity. Eventually you're getting the wild honeysuckle, the wild onions, the native bunch grasses, and you're starting to create that, what would the oak savanna that was meant to be, or this that has developed over the years. Now, there are places where you see these big junipers with no oaks around them. They're still preparing the ground. But once they're there, it's not smart to just limb up the juniper like you see here as it competes with that oak. It's time for that juniper to give way. It's time to harvest that juniper. But then you look here at this big juniper and there is no oak. And this stuff dries and cracks, this adobe clay. Notice the contrast. I don't know if that's picking up, but sorry for the lighting, but this is solid clay. I mean, you literally can make pottery out of this. So, but this, on this steep slope here, it takes a bit for the oak to start coming in. But once they do, you gotta harvest that juniper. But right now, it's not competing with any oaks. It's still preparing the ground. That should stay there. People say, well, they drink a ton of water. Well, yeah, that's what you get with a pioneer species. It has a huge taproot. And if you're gonna stand out there in 110 degree weather with zero shade, you're gonna need to do some evaporation to not get crispy. That's the trade nature set up to eventually set up enough to where that will burn down, help feed the oak. The oak will start getting that really rich soil and create that thick loam and crumbly goodness that will hold water, help store water, help with water retention. The organic matter is huge here. So I think people who are saying, don't kill any junipers, they're trees. Okay, no. I mean, or junipers drink too much water, they all gotta go. Well, I think it's more important to see their role, their natural cycles, how things evolve into healthy, sustainable ecosystems, and notice that it's part of the transgression. When is it helpful? When is it not? This year, all of these junipers would have been burnt up in a fire within the last, that's a 30-year-old juniper tree. That would have never lived to be that old. This one's been nipped down quite a few times, but a fire would just take that right out. And again, all that massive taproot system all of a sudden turns into a place for the mycelium and microbiology to live in the soil, and also for water penetration to get through that thick clay that otherwise wouldn't be able to. It'll just turn into a sheet and all the water will run off. So in its death, it helps. In its life, it's helping. But taken out of context, taken out of its role, all of a sudden it's choking out this big, beautiful, healthy oak tree and trying to set it backwards. Oh, look, yarrow. Nice, beautiful, healthy, healing herb right here. A wildflower gonna come up. There's one more I just saw in bloom. I'll show you real quick before I end this video. That was pretty much what I wanted to say before I go helping this oak out a bit. Here are those wild onions I was showing you earlier. There's I'm not up on all my wildflower terminology, but I know some common names for some of them. But like the Indian paintbrush. It's beautiful coming out of this lava. Contrast is amazing. I always found these really interesting, just in the sense that they almost look tropical, and if anything, they look like they should be growing right next to a creek. And here they are on a desert landscape hillside. those coming right out of the lava. Beautiful, beautiful specimens. And notice the contrast, just our variability between the colors. That is that rich red pigment to go into orange to almost yellow. Right here in this one little group, here's a really happy. Anyway, so I just hope people can start looking at forestry management in a little bit more of a holistic manner, starting to appreciate that things that have been here for thousands of years have developed a cycle, and when you see that they're detrimental, let's just pause and consider why. What's changed? Because after a while, Earth does find a rhythm. It does find, nature finds a balance. And if that balance is off, what are the variables? What are the changes? It's not junipers. Junipers have been here. They've been here since been here. So what changed? Well, we suppressed fires. The fire cycle for I don't know how many hundreds of thousands or millions of years, this fire cycle has been up here in this high desert. It's been here for a long time, and only in the past 100 some odd years have we been suppressing it, and we've been doing a lot of clear cutting and setting back forests. We can get into that another time, but if we're not going to allow those natural cycles, which is dangerous given the fuel buildup, then we have to do that work ourselves. Meaning, we have to get these junipers cleared back in a way that enables them to fulfill their role and actually be a benefit to this oak as they were meant to be. I'm going to try not to ding up my saw here, because one thing is they don't grow back from their stumps, but if you leave one little tiny speck of green on there, it is a tenacious plant. It will go if it can. So, and that's why it's a pioneer, and that's why it's beautiful, and I love it. But it just has to be in its own place, you know, within its own role. So, okay. More to come. Feel free to drop any questions you have. I'll do the best that I can to answer them, either writing them out or I'll make another video, and there'll be more videos either way. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, Foster Forestry, and here we are, trimming up a little, helping out an old oak. Okay, have a good day.